And welcome to Lunchtime News on TV1. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Ditmini De Silva. Let's take a look at the headlines.
How can independence be celebrated grandly at a time the economy and rule of law is in disarray? Catholic Church questions.
එතකොට ඒ අනුව කතෝලික සභාව නියෝජනය කරන කිසි කෙනෙක් ඊට සහභාගී වෙන්නේ නැහැ.
Sri Lanka up for Universal Periodic Review today at the UNHRC. US Under Secretary of State for Political Affairs Victoria Nuland meets President. Local government election to be held on the 9th of March. Returning officers issue gazette notifications. Sri Lanka to experience inclement weather.
The Catholic Church has questioned how Sri Lanka can proudly celebrate its independence at a time when the country's economy and the rule of law is in disarray. This was stated by the spokesperson of the Catholic Church, Reverend Father Srilankanbeauty, at a media briefing held in Colombo today.
විදේශ ණය වාරික ගෙවා ගන්නට නොහැකිව ආර්ථික වශයෙන් බංකොලොත් වී ඇති රටක
We must question how Independence Day can be celebrated proudly at a cost of 200 million rupees in a country that is unable to meet its foreign debt obligations, a country that is bankrupt, where 30% of its population are starving. 33.4% of children under 5 years are suffering from malnutrition. Many people are being laid off. Small and medium-scale businesses are crashing. The rule of law has deteriorated severely. Human rights are being violated without any remorse. Laws including the Prevention of Terrorism Act are being misused to suppress fundamental rights of the people. Electricity cannot be provided continuously even during the advanced level exam period, and the lives of patients are at risk due to medicine shortages. It is a great waste and a crime to stage such a celebration at a time the country is bankrupt. We vehemently oppose a celebration which the President considers should be held with much pomp and pageantry. On the cusp of the 75th anniversary of independence, what should have been done was for all political parties that ruined the country's economy for 75 years, accepting their flaws and apologizing to the people. Everyone who squandered and stole the country's resources should have been brought before the law, regardless of social status, and those funds should have been recovered. Corrupt businessmen who have evaded taxes should have been identified and taxed. If such action was taken, we could have found solace in the fact that after 75 years, we have taken the first step in creating a safe nation for all to live freely. Our stance is we oppose Independence Day being celebrated grandly. No one representing the Catholic Church will attend it.
අපි පිළිගන්නේ මේ නිදහස් උත්සවය පැවැත්විය යුතු දෙයක් කියලා මේ විදිහේ මුදල් කන්දරාවක් වියදම් කරලා.
Views were also expressed on former President Maithripala Sirisena's apology over the April 21st attacks yesterday.
සමාව දෙනවද කියන එක දැන් කෙනෙක් සමාව ඉල්ලන්න ඕනේ වරදක් කළයි කියලා පිළි අරගෙනනේ.
One must seek forgiveness after accepting his mistake. However, former President Maithripala Sirisena hasn't accepted his mistake. Although the Supreme Court verdict clearly states he is at fault, the former president is saying that he did no wrong and he is only at fault because of the failure of those he appointed. He is not accepting his mistake and therefore he has no right to seek forgiveness. It is not ethical to apologize if he has done no wrong. His apology is merely words and it has no relevance to us.
හිස් ප්‍රකාශයක් පමණයි කියන්නේ. ඒ නිසා මේ ඔහුගේ සමාව ඉල්ලීම අදාළ වෙන්නේ නැහැ අපිට.
Sri Lanka has been ranked 101st in the Corruption Perception Index for 2022. The Corruption Perception Index is a report compiled by Transparency International. The CPI scores 180 countries and territories around the world based on perceptions of public sector corruption. The scores reflect the views of experts and surveys from the business sector. The CPI is calculated using data from 13 external sources, including the World Bank, World Economic Forum, private risk and consulting companies, and think tanks. The CPI uses a scale from 0 to 100, whereby 100 is considered very clean and 0 is considered highly corrupt. Sri Lanka's score in the 2022 CPI stands at 36 out of 100, 1 point lower than the previous year, which was 37, and 2 points lower than from 2020 to 2017 and 2014, where the CPI score remains stagnated at 38. Sri Lanka ranks at 101 in 2022, along with Panama, Albania, Kazakhstan, Serbia, Ecuador, Peru and Thailand. Over the past 10 years, Sri Lanka's CPI score has remained relatively the same, from the highest being 40 in 2012 and the lowest being 36, which is the score this year and was the score in 2016. The top countries on the index are Denmark, Finland and New Zealand, while South Sudan, Syria and Somalia remain at the bottom of the CPI in 2022. Types of public sector corruption and related criteria captured in the CPI encompass bribery, diversion of public funds, effective prosecution of corruption cases, adequate legal frameworks, access to information and legal protections for whistleblowers, journalists and investigators. The report is released ahead of Sri Lanka's 4th Universal Periodic Review, which will take place on the 1st of February 2023 in Geneva, Switzerland. The Organization of Medical Professionals for Systemic Change says it is humorous that an exorbitant amount is being spent to hold Independence Day celebrations with pride at a time when all sectors of the country have collapsed. Issuing a statement, the organization said, apart from the desire of the country's leader to appear as the head of state in a grand ceremony, there is no other justification to such a decision. The statement added that the president and his associates are undermining the intelligence of the Sri Lankan people to claim that the global community will believe that Sri Lanka has failed if such a ceremony is not held. In the statement, the organization said common sense is sufficient to decide whether it is appropriate to celebrate Independence Day by spending exorbitant amounts at a time when there are people who are suffering without food and medicine. In more local news, Sri Lanka's national report under the 4th cycle of the Universal Periodic Review comes up for consideration by the UN Working Group on UPR today during its 42nd session to be held in Geneva. Sri Lanka's delegation to the review will be led by Ministry of Foreign Affairs Ali Sabri by means of a pre-recorded video statement. The report includes the observations of the United Nations Human Rights Council regarding steps taken by the government in terms of the promotion of human rights in Sri Lanka since 2017. Minister of Foreign Affairs Ali Sabri said the report to be released today includes details on matters that the government voluntarily agreed to promote human rights in Sri Lanka, as well as the implementation of the regulations by the Human Rights Council. The in-person delegation will be led by Sri Lanka's permanent representative to the United Nations in Geneva, Himali Arunatilaka, and comprise senior officials from the Presidential Secretariat, the Attorney General's Department, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Permanent Mission of Sri Lanka to the UN in Geneva. Victoria Nuland, the Under-Secretary of State for Political Affairs of the United States, who arrived in the country earlier today, met President Ranil Wickremesinghe and held discussions.
According to the President's media division, the President has expressed his gratitude to the United States for the support it has extended during an arduous time for Sri Lanka. Nuland has pledged the US government's support for Sri Lanka's ongoing recovery efforts. US Ambassador to Sri Lanka Julie Chung says the arrival of the Under-Secretary is important in several aspects at a time the two nations are celebrating 75 years of bilateral relations. In a tweet, she said the US Under-Secretary's arrival will highlight US support for Sri Lanka's ongoing reforms to foster economic prosperity, protect human rights and promote reconciliation. Victoria Nuland is scheduled to hold discussions with several top officials, including Minister of Foreign Affairs, President's Counsel Ali Sabri. Commonwealth Secretary-General Patricia Scotland is due to arrive in the island this evening.
Following are the comments made with regard to the 13th Amendment to the Constitution.
The President is introducing a power devolution system instead of overcoming the economic crisis by bringing all the people together. We question the President on whose needs are these devolution of power processes taking place. We feel that this is yet another attempt to incite the Mahasangha by creating another issue instead of addressing the economic woes. We as the Mahasangha would like to note that at a time when the country is in crisis, what is required is to build the country instead of creating issues among communities. His Is Ranil Wickremesinghe rushing to implement the 13th Amendment because he solved the issue? Are there medicines in hospitals? Do the people have food and electricity?
The collective of national organizations requested the Askeri chapter of the Siam sect to prevent the attempts being made to fully implement the 13th Amendment to the Constitution.
The country is in an economic crisis. Is the 13th Amendment the priority? The 13th Amendment was forced on us by India. The people did not approve this.
The main issue for the economic crisis is the different administrative structures that are in place. If the Provincial Council can be strengthened as a resolution, it should be done following a proper study and following the introduction of a new constitution. However, there should never be devolution of power. There is a risk in distributing the power among the provinces. If that happens, that would lead to a communal issue and great misunderstanding.
Sri Lanka's election headquarters.
A Gazette notification has been issued announcing that the local government election will be held on the 9th of March from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m.
The district returning officers have issued this extraordinary Gazette notification in accordance with subsection 38/1/C of the Local Government Elections Ordinance. Returning officers from 24 electoral districts have issued 24 gazettes relating to the local government election. Local government commissioners have requested officials of the Election Commission to dissolve local government bodies and facilitate the conduct of an independent local government election. This request had been made when the Election Commission summoned state officials to the Commission yesterday. Local government commissioners have pointed out to the Election Commission that the failure to dissolve local governments has proved it difficult for them to manage its property effectively. Election Commissioner General Saman Sriratnayaka said that the Commission directed officials to submit the request to the Minister of Local Government. Meanwhile, Saman Sriratnayaka stated that the need to take every step to prevent the misuse of state property in accordance with the circulars issued in relation to the local government elections was elaborated to government officials who were called to the Election Commission yesterday. The meeting held yesterday was attended by additional secretaries of ministries, executive officers of government statutory bodies, local government commissioners and others.
Former Mayor of the Kaduwala Municipal Council, G.H. Buddhadasa, and Kaduwala Municipal Councillor Bosath Kalahe Pathirana filed a complaint with the Election Commission yesterday.
This election is special because the councils were not dissolved prior to the conduct of the election. The rulers are sitting in their chairs and using state vehicles. This is a corrupt election. Recently, they got 10.5 million rupees approved and are preparing to carry out 100 projects. This is an attempt to bribe the people. Are you telling us to make the laws? The Election Commission has the authority to do so and must do so if needed.
Leader of the National People's Power, Anrukumara Disanayaka, says a legal system that is equal for all is needed in order to build the country. He expressed these views while attending a rally held in Akkarepattu yesterday.
Several factors must be fulfilled in order to build this country. Firstly, Sri Lanka needs a new constitution which will safeguard the rights of the people. We will introduce that. Secondly, we need an efficient state sector and we will do that too. Thirdly, we need a law that is equal to all. Is the law in the country today equal to all? Those who have money and power are treated one way before the law, and those who are destitute and weak are treated another. In all developed countries, everyone is treated equally by the law. A video posted of the Prime Minister of the UK travelling in a car without wearing his seatbelt was investigated by the police. In Sri Lanka, will the Prime Minister be investigated? If they do, the police officer will lose his rank. Isn't that true? What is good about this country? Who is breaking the law? It is them.
නීති කඩන්න කවුද මේගොල්ලෝ මතක තබා
විශේෂ පොතක් වෙතයි අවධානය යොමු කරන්නේ අන්තර් විශ්වවිද්‍යාලයේ ශිෂ්‍ය බල මණ්ඩලයේ කැඳවුම්කරු වසන්ත මුදලිගේ මහතාට එරෙහිව විභාග වන නඩු 3කට අදාළව අද ඔහුට ඇප නියම කෙරුණා වසන්ත මුදලිගේ මහතාට එරෙහිව මෙම නඩු පවරා තිබුණේ කොටුව මහේස්ත්‍රාත් අධිකරණය හමුවේ මේ ඒ පිළිබඳව පැහැදිලි කරන නීතිඥ නුවන් බොපගේ මහතා
අද දින වසන්ත මුදලිගේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් කොටුව මහේස්ත්‍රාත් අධිකරණයට කරුණු දක්වා ඇති නඩු 3ක් කැඳවනු ලැබුවා. ඒ නඩු 3ෙම ඔහු රක්ෂිත බන්ධනාගාරගත කර තිබුණේ. ඒ අනුව ඊයේ දිනේදී ඔහුව ත්‍රස්තවාදී වැළැක්වීමේ පනතෙන් නිදහස් වුණ කාරණය පදනම් කරගෙන සහ දීර්ඝ කාලයක් රක්ෂිත බන්ධනාගාරගතව සිටීම කාරණය පිළිබඳව අධිකරණයට කරුණු දැක්වීමෙන් පසුව අධිකරණය විසින් අප නියම කරනු ලැබුවා. ඒ අනුව එම නඩු 3ෙම ඔහුට අප ලැබීම අද සිද්ධ වුණා. ඒත් සමගම ඒ බන්ධනාගාරයට දන්වා ඔහුව නැවතත් මෙම අධිකරණයට කැඳවාගෙන ගෙනවිත් ඔහුව සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම නිදහස් කර ගැනීමේ හැකියාවක් තිබෙනවා.
ඔව් ඒ අනුව අන්තර් විශ්වවිද්‍යාලයේ ශිෂ්‍ය බල මණ්ඩලයේ කැඳවුම්කරු වසන්ත මුදලිගේ මහතාට එරෙහිව විභාග වන නඩු 3කට අදාළව අද ඔහුට අප නියම வනවා. சிந்துச்சன்
ஸ்தூதியோ மாயா தற்போது கிடைத்த விசேட செய்தி ஒன்று. அனைத்து பல்கலைக்கழக மாணவர் ஒன்றியத்தின் ஏற்பாட்டாளர் வசந்த முதலிகேவிற்கு எதிராக கோட்டை நீதவான் நீதிமன்றத்தில் விசாரிக்கப்படுகின்ற 3 வழக்குகளுக்கு பிணை வழங்கப்பட்டுள்ளது. அந்த செய்தியை மீண்டும் அறிய தருகின்றோம். அனைத்து பல்கலைக்கழக மாணவர் ஒன்றியத்தின் ஏற்பாட்டாளர் வசந்த முதலிகேவிற்கு எதிராக கோட்டை நீதவான் நீதிமன்றத்தில் விசாரிக்கப்படுகின்ற 3 வழக்குகளுக்கு தற்போது பிணை வழங்கப்பட்டுள்ளது. தொடர்பான விவரங்களை தொடரும் நியூஸ் ஃபர்ஸ்டின் செய்தி அறிக்கையினூடாக வழங்குவதற்கு நாங்கள் தயாராக இருக்கின்றோம். தித்மினி, over to you.
Thank you. The 4th Magistrates Court on Wednesday granted bail to Vasantha Mudalige, the convener of the Inter-University Students' Federation, in 3 separate cases. Attorney Nuwan Bopage, speaking to News First, said that 3 cases against Vasantha Mudalige were called up in court. He said that based on the fact that he was remanded for a prolonged period and that the PTA charges were dropped in court on Tuesday, the 4th Magistrate granted bail for all 3 cases. The attorney said that Vasantha Mudalige will be brought to court later in the day to secure his release on bail. The news once again. The 4th Magistrates Court on Wednesday granted bail to Vasantha Mudalige, the convener of the Inter-University Students' Federation, in 3 separate cases. Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa says that all Sri Lankans must come together, casting aside their difference to uplift the country from its present state.
Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa joined a public rally in Calcutta Batiklo on Tuesday. We will bring about another era where we will build houses for the people. We will take measures to ensure food security in the country. We will introduce an economy centered around development. We will also prioritize English language proficiency for IT and computer science. We will strengthen the country's education and health sectors. We should not be divided based on religion, caste, race, community, and join hands to uplift our motherland. We need to bring about an era where everyone will be strengthened. I urge you to support the SJB to achieve victory.
ඔබ සියලු දෙනාම සමගි ජන බලවේගය ජයග්‍රහණය කරවන්නේ කියලා ඉල්ලීමක් කරමින් සියලුම දෙනාට ජය වේවා.
An Iranian couple in their 20s have been given jail sentences totaling 10 years after posting a video of themselves dancing in the street. They were reportedly convicted for promoting corruption, prostitution and propaganda. The video showed them dancing by Tehran's Freedom Tower. Authorities are handing heavy sentences to people seen to be involved in protests after the death of a woman who was detained by morality police. The couple did not link their dance to the ongoing protests in Iran. Anti-government protests, labelled riots by Iran's regime, swept across the country after Mahsa Amini died in police custody in September last year. She was arrested in Tehran for allegedly violating the rule requiring women to cover their hair with a hijab or headscarf. A recently discovered green comet will soon zip by Earth for the first time in 50,000 years. It was last visible in the night sky during the Stone Age. According to NASA, the comet discovered on the 2nd of March 2022 by astronomers using a wide-field survey camera in San Diego County, California, made its closest approach to the Sun on the 12th of January. According to the Planetary Society, the comet has an orbit around the Sun that passes through the outer reaches of the solar system, which is why it's taken such a long route and long time to swing by Earth again. According to Earth Sky, the icy celestial object will make its closest pass by Earth between today and tomorrow, around 42 million kilometers to 44 million kilometers away. According to Earth Sky, even during its closest approach, the comet will still be more than 100 times the Moon's distance away from the Earth. As the comet nears Earth, observers will be able to spot it as a faint green smudge near the bright star Polaris also called the North Star. Comets reflect different colors of light due to their current positions in orbit and chemical compositions. That's a wrap of the Lunchtime News. Thank you for watching.